Hell's Kitchen is closed. The Iron Fist needs a cast. Luke Cage is unable to regenerate anymore. So much potential, so much darkness, and so much disappointment. The extension of the MCU into Netflix's Marvel Universe had the blueprint for major success. But what went wrong? Were they doomed from the start? Was there too much pressure from the big screen success? Or was there a conspiracy to end the shows after a competitive streaming service popped up to take on Netflix directly? The Marvel Netflix universe consists of multiple shows, a crossover event, and a whole lot of controversy for fans. With the recent cancellation of Daredevil, Luke Cage, and the Iron Fist, many have pondered what exactly went wrong with Marvel's empire of Netflix shows. There's no easy single answer, but a whole lot of unanswered questions. The Marvel Universe has failed! Of course, we're not talking about the true MCU, but rather the Netflix universe of Marvel shows. For several years, Netflix and Disney had a great distribution agreement. Younger fans got to enjoy endless episodes of Jessie, while older fans could enjoy films like Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Then the relationship got even stronger as the two sides went into production together. Netflix was teaming up with Marvel to release completely original TV shows. And the first hero they chose? None other than Daredevil. Just like Marvel went ahead to try and erase Eric Bana's Hulk and Edward Norton's Hulk with a new and improved Mark Ruffalo, the Daredevil show would attempt to do the hero justice while helping people forget about Ben Affleck's portrayal back in the 2003 film. The Marvel relationship with Netflix was built on their whole MCU philosophy, connecting everything. Daredevil would not only be a part of the MCU timeline, but other Netflix Marvel shows would connect as well. So would we see Black Panther swoop into Hell's Kitchen to save the day? Well, don't get ahead of yourselves. The premiere of Daredevil in April of 2015 was met with a lot of fanfare, binge-watching, and high praise. The series was quickly followed up with Jessica Jones in the fall of 2015. Taking on a different detective-oriented tone, the series also had a ton of praise, and much like the MCU big-screen counterparts, it seemed like Marvel could not be stopped. Then Marvel introduced two more series, Luke Cage and the Iron Fist, and fans started getting weary. Critical praise dwindled with each additional series, and it all culminated in the 8-episode crossover entitled The Defenders. Supposed to be a small-screen version of the Avengers, The Defenders was not the success they were hoping for, and nearly derailed all the momentum from the Netflix franchise. Even as the 5th solo series, The Punisher, made its debut in 2017, there were major signs of trouble. So what exactly happened? Well, let's start with the shows themselves. Each solo series followed the basic blueprint of 13 episodes per season. Each episode was an hour long, giving a lot of extra time to develop characters, create side plots, and allow our heroes to grow. The only problem? In Marvel's fast-paced cinematic universe, there is little wasted screen time. But these Marvel shows often felt like there was too much filler, too many subplots that went nowhere, a ton of exposition and character building through long dialogue scenes, and moments that were just plain boring, causing viewers to lose any anticipation for upcoming excitement or action. Each show took their sweet time introducing characters, building in flashbacks, and showing origin stories. By the time Iron Fist was released, we had seen one dragged origin story too many. The formula felt repetitive. There is nothing wrong with 13 episodes a season. In many cases, that is not enough time. It's what these shows choose to do with those 13 hours that become a real problem. Plot points are dragged out or left unresolved just for the sake of expanding the on-screen time and filling in gaps. For example, in Luke Cage, Misty gets a bionic arm, and we see her journey before she gets the arm. But nothing much comes of it after. She doesn't become a rogue hero herself, keeps her career as a cop, and the arm doesn't get as much use as it should. The core of many superhero shows and movies are the action set pieces we get to see. Naturally, a TV show has a much lower budget than a movie, but how many times do we need to see our heroes take out nameless goons in a hallway, back alley, or during a random fight scene? The fights, especially in Iron Fist, felt extremely cookie-cutter and by the numbers. Even the hero's unique powers were not utilized to deliver compelling action. But this doesn't apply to every fight. Daredevil's fight choreography was top-notch, and the ultra-violent scenes in The Punisher allows the series to stand out from others. Still, many of these fight scenes are few and far between. A lot of them are dark, feature low lighting and quick cuts, so the only thing you can really process are arms and legs moving around. The fight scenes also featured a lot of cliches. Nameless bad guys smashed into glass windows? Check. Enemies taken down and knocked out with a single punch? Check. Our heroes getting shot at, only to have every bullet miss or have no effect? Check. The shows offer very little new or fresh action scenes, especially when the MCU has done so well to provide a variety of fighting action on the big screen. The main villains of the show were quietly introduced, and often not confronted with the heroes until later in the season. This leads to many pacing problems and a lack of true adversaries for our heroes to go up against. For example, other hero shows like The Flash are known for their villains of the week, pitting the heroes against strong enemies while still having an overall story arc where the main villain could be involved as needed. And then there's Luke Cage. The introduction of Cottonmouth showed extreme promise and intrigue, only to kill him off halfway through the season while introducing two subpar and cliche villains to take his place. Shocking twists are great for a show, but it was like Thanos getting killed off halfway through Infinity War and replaced with Malekith from Thor: The Dark World. Cottonmouth's replacement was Diamondback, a villain who felt like he was transported from a 1990s superhero show, and someone who belonged nowhere near the Luke Cage story. The cheesy helmet and dialogue didn't help either. In Season 2 of Jessica Jones, we meet Jessica's mother, Alyssa Jones, who has similar powers to her daughter. She was barely a villain on the show. Her powers weren't controlled well, and the whole mother-daughter story felt like forced drama, while not providing a villain with any great motives. It just felt like an endless ticking bomb. The nice part about a television show is you don't need bad guys bent on destroying the Earth, eliminating half the universe, or creating a floating city. Their motives can be more grounded while still having personal consequences for the heroes and their close ones. Unfortunately, creating compelling villains has seemed to be a major problem on both Netflix and in the MCU. For every Thanos and Killmonger, there's a Diamondback or Ronin. The extra time a television show has to develop characters should put a good emphasis on the villain. But all too often, we have to deal with cookie-cutter foes for our heroes to take on. Whether it's movies or television, a hero can only be so great if they have a great villain to go up against. Case in point, Daredevil Season 3 showcased the return of Wilson Fisk, better known as Kingpin in the comic book world. Fisk was a brutal, scene-grabbing villain who helped keep up the momentum for Season 3 and provided fans with one of the best seasons yet. The story elements of these Marvel shows are also limited with many aspects of the Netflix model. Netflix is known for dumping whole seasons of shows all at once. This means the whole production is completed before the first episode is even shown to audiences. This format has worked with the whole binge-watching model, but fan feedback often arrives a little too late to make any changes. On a traditional TV show or series, shows are filmed throughout the whole year. So while the early part of a season airs, viewers give feedback, often in the form of angry tweets, and changes can be made as needed. Viewers hate a certain character? Well, then show creators have the option to kill them off. With Netflix, we witnessed the entire terrible season of Iron Fist, with no opportunity to make proper changes. Not only does this limit the creative feedback process, but it will also make viewers less likely to tune in for Season 2, no matter how many changes are made. Fans certainly shouldn't be running the show, but when a majority are unhappy with specific aspects of the product, you have major problems on your hand. The Netflix model also worked against the Marvel shows in a number of other ways. Netflix doesn't put pressure on productions to get released at a certain point. They avoid the typical September to May TV calendar, and some shows don't even return for multiple years before premiering a new season. Oddly, Daredevil Season 2 premiered in March of 2016, and Season 3 didn't premiere until October 2018. The nearly 2.5-year gap is a quick way to lose viewer interest, and it may have shown with Daredevil's recent cancellation. On the other side of the coin, there was a point when Netflix released way too much Marvel TV content at the same time. 2017 saw the release of Iron Fist, The Defenders, and The Punisher all within months of each other. That's an overload of content, especially when Iron Fist was the first in the batch. Meanwhile, over at ABC, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has a schedule and routine down fans could anticipate. Featuring 22 episodes over a full television season, the show was easy to follow each week, and spread out enough so fans were not overwhelmed. The Netflix binge-watching format allows each episode to flow into the next, almost making each season of a show feel like an overly long movie. There's no cliffhangers to look forward to, no previews for the following week, and nothing to keep fans talking week after week without giving major spoilers away. For example, when a show like True Detective premiered on HBO, each week left viewers speculating, coming up with theories and discussing details of the show. Everyone was watching pretty much at the same time, or within the week it aired. The same could be said for a cinematic release of an MCU movie. The chatterbox for a Marvel Netflix show is limited, especially when too many shows are dumped at once. Fans can't talk about The Defenders when they're still getting through a season of Luke Cage or busy watching the start of The Punisher. If the shows feel like they were lost in the mix a little, well, they were.
Please tell me they put a Walgreens in this Netflix.
Netflix will release trailers and run ads, but their main promotion is all about user algorithms and promoting specific shows to specific viewers. With an MCU movie, we get hyped trailers, fan events, cast interviews, and so much more. Netflix is churning out original content every single week, making a lot of clutter for the Netflix Marvel shows to rise up from. With new seasons of Netflix shows like Stranger Things, Orange is the New Black, or Ozark, viewers start binging these alternative shows, and the Marvel shows get pushed out of the spotlight. The sudden dump of the shows and multiple releases within the same year make these shows' timelines hard to follow. So would have shows like Daredevil, Luke Cage, or Iron Fist fared better on a Disney-owned network like ABC or Freeform? Probably not. And one of the main reasons is the viewership numbers. According to the analytics company JumpShot, Luke Cage dropped 59% of their viewers going into Season 2, while Iron Fist dropped around 64%. While Netflix enjoys a large selection of niche shows and movies, a dramatic drop like that doesn't bode well for the shows. A majority of shows with a drop like that would have been canceled on any network. The Marvel name is not invincible when it comes to entertainment. Comic book fans have high standards, and overall, the Marvel Netflix series have not lived up to them. Sure, a lot of changes were made to Iron Fist for Season 2. Fights were improved, slightly, the story featured better moments, and Danny Rand tried his hardest to be a true hero. But the show was still clearly the weakest of the bunch. We're surprised it even got a chance for a second season. But Netflix loves building up their binge-watching episode numbers, no matter how much time you waste devoting yourself to the Iron Fist. The Iron Fist is still a great story to tell, but a whole new reboot would be needed to properly start over again. Another major problem with the shows? Building a universe in the first place. The MCU was a major success, but is more and more seemingly like a rare breed. The Universal Dark Universe, the DCEU, have all struggled or failed to take off. The CW's Arrowverse has proven to be a success, along with the Conjuring horror universe. But not everything needs to be connected. Connecting all of these Marvel shows may have seemed like an ideal way to get viewers to go from show to show and emulate the MCU, but the connections actually hindered these shows. Before Daredevil even premiered, hype was built into the connected universe and their possible connection to the MCU. The Avengers battle in New York is mentioned on multiple shows, naturally because of their New York setting. But other than that, the MCU connection isn't much more than a few throwaway lines, and viewers murmuring, "Did Jessica Jones just say the name Captain America?" Seriously, we couldn't even get just one MCU hero to cameo on a single episode of the show? Even just a Happy Hogan scene would have solidified the MCU connection. Making the shows kinda of, but not really, a part of the MCU turns into a big disappointment, especially considering how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were able to play off the events of multiple movies, including Captain America Winter Soldier and its sequel Captain America Civil War. The showrunners themselves aren't entirely to blame for the lack of connection. This one goes all the way up to Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel Studios, and Jeff Loeb, the head of Marvel TV. The use of the characters, the direction they go, and the plots they're involved in all becomes a big creative battle between Feige and Loeb. Feige doesn't want his characters used improperly on TV, while Loeb wants to ensure his heroes would look larger than life on the big screen. But they still insist the Netflix shows are a part of the MCU, and fans are left stuck with vague references and a lack of a connection to huge events like the Thanos finger snap in Avengers Infinity War. Never mind the MCU, the Netflix shows themselves should have never been connected, especially with the lackluster 8-episode offering known as The Defenders. Every early season of the Netflix shows had to guide the characters on rails, setting up plots and putting things into motion so the Defenders would make sense. The 4 New York City heroes would team up to go on and face the villain group known as the Hand. Both the first seasons of Luke Cage and Iron Fist suffered because of forced storylines leading up to the Defenders. Every bad guy seemed to have some connection to the shady organization, but the force of evil seemed to lurk more in the shadows than actually do anything. The show should have stood on their own, and made the group connection within the first episode of The Defenders instead of using their own show as a platform. The Defenders was essentially supposed to be the TV version of the Avengers, but it didn't quite work out the same way. One of the reasons is these shows take themselves way too seriously. Now, there's nothing wrong with a realistic and gritty show, but in the world of Marvel, people are expecting over-the-top costumes like Captain America and the Black Panther. The Daredevil has an understated costume, but a majority of other heroes pretty much just wear street clothes the majority of the time. They don't feel like the cohesive they should be, and the whole team-up was done way too soon. Each show should have been at least 2 to 3 seasons in before they teamed up to take on the Hand. Some of the Defenders just don't feel like true heroes, and one of the best examples of this is the Iron Fist, aka Danny Danny Rand. Rand is gifted with the power of the Iron Fist, but he makes selfish decisions and doesn't possess a rootable quality. There's Iron Man's cockiness, and then there's Danny Rand. At the end of the second season of Iron Fist, he just gives his powers away. He doesn't lose them or think he's undeserving. The story of the Iron Fist giving up his powers and transferring them to someone else would have been an ideal mid-season twist to see where the story went, but the cliffhanger was setting off another season with an extended plot and dragged out episodes to explore Danny Rand's journey further and an eventual return as the Iron Fist. The Iron Fist needed major changes to become a viable hero, and canceling the show was the right decision at the time. The New York City setting also doesn't do the shows any favors. Not only are all of the shows set in New York City, but they are filmed there as well. Sure, there's a clear difference between Daredevil's Hell's Kitchen and Luke Cage's Harlem, but the dark and bleak New York City setting felt a little repetitive from show to show. Even using a different city like Miami or Los Angeles for one of the shows could have given different visuals and feel to the production, even if a city change went against comic book origins. The shows may be all set in New York City to help connect them further, but it also makes the shows mix together in a boring and less compelling way. Changing the setting of any one show would have helped it stand out, or even just creating a new location for a character to explore in future seasons would have helped. Just because a few parts of the Netflix Marvel universe have been lost doesn't mean the whole thing is dead yet. Daredevil's third season was arguably its best. Even though the show was canceled, the character should have some sort of Marvel future. The Punisher only got better as the first season went on, and fans cannot wait to see the follow-up. Jessica Jones is currently filming its third season, and despite a few stumbles in season 2, the show still has a strong chance to stick around. As for Luke Cage and the Iron Fist, the two characters could easily pop up in one of the other shows for a little added fun. Seeing their characters in small doses would make them have even more appeal than in their solo series. Netflix renews shows at a pretty fast pace, so it wasn't too shocking to hear Daredevil won't receive a fourth season just a month or so after the season 3 debut. Keeping some sort of superhero presence on the streaming channel is probably a good idea, considering the roaring popularity of the genre that only seems to grow. And let's not just pigeonhole the Netflix shows either. Marvel has been very hit or miss in the world of television. On ABC, Peggy Carter only lasted 18 episodes before getting canceled, while Inhumans only has 8 episodes before getting yanked from the schedule. Seeing the bigger picture, it's clear that launching a TV series with lesser-known superheroes is much more challenging than putting everything you have into a single multi-million-dollar budget movie. Netflix's announcements of the Luke Cage and Iron Fist cancellation seemingly came out of nowhere. But you have to wonder if the cancellation and presumed failure of the Marvel TV shows was a strategic move on the part of Netflix. We're not here to get all crazy with conspiracy theories, but Netflix and Disney have been on the rocks in recent months, especially with the announcement of the new Disney Plus streaming platform. Disney plans on creating their own MCU shows based around Loki and the Scarlet Witch, basically ignoring the Netflix series of shows. Did Disney want to eliminate their own competition and start fresh on their own platform, or is Netflix making moves to try and minimize Disney content on their platform? Not only is Disney starting their own streaming service, but the exclusive deal giving Netflix streaming rights to their movies will be completely gone, with only Jessica Jones and The Punisher left standing. Netflix has no reason to further invest a lot in Disney or Marvel-based products, if they have no others to work towards either. And don't expect a whole lot on the DC Comics front either. The new DC streaming service, DC Universe, will play host to everything Batman, Superman, and other heroes under the Warner Bros. Umbrella. Netflix does have the option of looking into superhero properties outside of both Marvel and DC Comics, but that is a riskier bet than a more well-known name like Daredevil or The Punisher. Although with some star power and a quality show, anything's possible on the streaming platform. The original MCU shows on Disney Plus gives Marvel Studios a chance to make the shows they always wanted, with true characters and connections to the MCU. If you were desperate for Daredevil to make a big screen cameo before, definitely don't count on one now. Disney has a chance to learn from their errors and build shows with much more compelling content and action, and likely a little bit higher budget as well. Imagine if the Loki show is able to snag Chris Hemsworth for a quick Thor appearance. There's an instant rating boost that the Netflix shows never truly had access to. The Disney MCU shows will likely ignore the Netflix ones, making it feel like a long-forgotten cousin hidden in the dark web of the internet. For some reason, Marvel Studios has spent years ignoring the shows, in a very obvious way, and things don't look much better for their inclusion in the future. So what's next for the rest of the Netflix original series? Well, it seems like they are all dropping like dominoes. Jessica Jones will likely be canceled as well, but not until after the Season 3 debut. With a high praise and fan following for Daredevil Season 3, a fourth season of the show was expected, but no one saw that cancellation coming. The ultra-violent world of the Punisher is a great fit on Netflix and could run for a few more seasons, unless they are just washing their hands clean of everything Marvel. In that case, get ready for Disney Plus and a whole slew of new Marvel shows as we quietly say goodbye to this batch. The world of Marvel on Netflix definitely went through a lot of stumbles, but there are some great moments in there and may not be worth fully giving up on yet. Abandoning the idea of the shows being included in the MCU allows you to focus on the individual stories and truly enjoy the shows for what they are. So now that you understand exactly what went wrong, what could be done to help fix these Netflix shows? Should they introduce new Marvel heroes? Do you want Luke Cage and the Iron Fist to guest star on the remaining shows? And there you have it. Did you want to see a third season of Luke Cage or Iron Fist? How do these shows compare to the Arrowverse? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to Screen Rant on YouTube so you can stay up to date with our awesome videos. Thanks for watching.